Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the People of Packaging podcast. I'm excited to be recording this from my desk and not my tiny little podcast closet because I did not set up my computer in there. So grabbed a mic and here we are. So I have my lovely brick wall background. If you're watching or if you're listening to this, I'm painting that story along with the fact that I am joined by not one, not two, not three, but 4 people here on the episode today. And so we've got a tag special. Is that what we should call this? The tag special? Is there another anyone else have any fun?
I mean, you could say tag team. Tag team's fun.
That was way better. I feel like I just need to start over, Emily, because you absolutely killed it. Yeah, so tag team is back again. And if anyone's a fan of the 90s rap music scene, that would be an homage back to that. So the tag team, thank you for that, Emily, is here on the People of Packaging podcast. So I've got a repeat guest, Devin Nutter. Devin is the overall wait, nope, hang on, that's the wrong thing. Devin he does sourcing. He's director of strategic sourcing and the Strategic Sourcing Center of Excellence Subject Matter Expert. Devin, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.
If everyone wants to hear only Devin, solo Devin, tag solo, you can go. I forget what episode it is, but I'll make sure to put it in the show notes. I'll tag you in the show notes. I'm not proud of that one, by the way. That was
well played, Adam.
Thank you. We've also got Jan Stollerman. Jan is the Global Business Director and the Packaging Center of Excellence Subject Matter Expert, aka SME. Jan, welcome. Hello.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Jan, where are you based out of?
I am based out of New York City.
Okay. And Devin, you're still down in the Georgia area? Okay.
Yes, I am.
We've got Atlanta, we've got Georgia, and then we've got Emily Stolarcyk. Did I do it? Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yes. Emily is the sustainability director over at TAG and also very quick thinker on her feet, coming up with names. So Emily, where are you based out of?
I'm also in New York.
Okay, got it. Now, what is it? Are you both in the city, in like actual New York City, or are you upstate where I feel like is just everything that's not New York City?
I'm upstate.
Okay.
Yeah, that would put me downstate because I am based in the New York City office.
Okay, you're mid-state. And then finally, we've got Paul Lynch. Paul is the head of experience and commerce for the UK and Ireland. And Paul is, as when he talks, you're going to find out he's definitely based in Oklahoma, I believe. Is that correct, Paul?
No, that's not quite correct, Adam, but nice to meet you. I'm actually based in Hampshire in the UK. So,
and that would be Old Hampshire, not New Hampshire like we have over here. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, got it. Well, Paul, I think the question that really is on everyone's mind over here in the U.S. is how long does it take for you to get to Wrexham, and have you met Ryan Reynolds over there?
Well, for me to get to Wrexham, it's about an hour and a half, but no, I haven't.
Okay.
No, I'm a big Manchester United fan, so I wouldn't go to Wrexham.
No. Well, I mean, they're not even really literally in the same league, right? They're two totally different clubs. But this is not going to be a podcast about European football, thank God, because it would be there would be probably a couple of people discussing. We're going to talk about packaging, specifically connected packaging and sustainability, and just what TAG is doing about it. So I'm going to start with you, Jan. So you were tagged. Gosh, this is gonna. I really got to watch the dad.
Keep doing that. Yeah.
I just have to watch it. But I want you to tell us a little bit about who TAG is and what do you all do?
Of course. Thank you, Adam. So interesting. TAG is a 50-year-old company. So we're hoping that a lot of people have heard of TAG. We are a global creative production and sourcing powerhouse to brands and agencies worldwide. So we work directly with brands, and we also work with the agencies of those brands. We're best known for bringing big ideas to life by delivering impactful content at speed and scale across channels and regions so brands can operate more efficiently and effectively by doing more with less. We are a global company. We have offices all over the world. We do follow the sun. At TAG Americas, we deliver via what we call Center of Excellences, or COEs. That's our operating model of more than 10 centers, each led by an SME, or subject matter expert. That includes creative studio, shopper marketing, language services, social media, and of course, my favorite and my passion, packaging. I'm the SME for the packaging COE. TAG is a one-stop solution for CPGs and all brand categories. So FMCGs, life sciences, beauty fragrance. We are completing packaging for all those types of categories. And we are a from beginning to end service organization. That means we can do strategic design. We can do tier 2 and tier 3 creative. We can do experiential design. We can do all of the artworking and, of course, the sourcing. And surrounding that is technology that we are investing over the next 2 years, over $14 million into, which we think is world-class, world-leading, and is going to be like phenomenal once we put all of the different modules that we're developing into it.
Got it. Well, I would also agree that packaging is incredible, and dare I say, packaging is awesome. And so, Devin, I'd be curious because, behind closed doors, you said they're never going to say this, but sourcing is by far the coolest and most important thing that we do at TAG. But maybe talk a little bit about the importance of, why, like, I think people get packaging design and, kind of some of these iterations around, some of the marketing elements and, why they may use somebody like TAG, but what is it about what you do with sourcing that kind of differentiates you from other companies?
So one of the things, the fact is that we are a production agency that has a powerhouse of sourcing embedded in it, right? So what we do with the sourcing piece is the activation, basically getting the package, making it come to fruition, putting it out to market. But what Jan's talking about and what we're able to do now is fully end-to-end from the idea of concept to production, through monitoring sustainability, track and trace features. So again, the sourcing aspect of this really is just making the dream work, right? So we're able to pull it together based on what Jan is able to produce, and then we hand it over. Paul and his team are able to provide some analytics on the marketing and success aspect of this. And then Emily here is able to give us some insights into how we can be more sustainable in our actions and how we produce the pieces and how can we manage them once they're out in the market.
And, I think that really comes through this idea of connectedness, right? Not only do you all have to be connected, and Paul, I'm actually I'll bring in a soccer or a football reference here. I think there is something really beautiful when you see kind of that buildup, right? And the whole team is connected, and the passes are going to the right spot, and the ball moves down the pitch at this it's such a beautiful moment, right? When the ball gets in the net. It's beautiful if it's your team. It's heartbreaking if it's not your team. But this idea of connection, I think, is very real at TAG. And while I'm sure the company 50 years ago didn't set out to start talking about connected packaging the way we may see it today, how have you seen that evolve, and kind of what role does TAG play in this sort of ambiguous world of connected packaging?
So I think what we're seeing is we're moving into a world where brands want to own first-party data, and one of the ways of initially doing that was to connect the package to a redemption site or to a site that captured that user's details, and I think we're seeing the evolution of that now into much more of a richer environment that not only just includes content, but it includes gamification, So we're finding that that our customers are actually looking to use the digital platform to change their campaigns and not necessarily continually reprint the packaging to launch a campaign. They may reduce that cycle to 3 or 4 times a year rather than 8 to 10 times a year. So that whole experience, not just from a QR code scanning, but also, perhaps using other technology like watermarking and RFID tags so that you can connect the packaging in store. We're seeing a lot of value for that. And owning your first party data enables you then to understand your consumer base, and therefore you can start to personalize your messaging back to that consumer base because you've got a real connection, and that really is a desire that we're seeing from CPG companies.
It does seem as though this idea of being connected to the consumer has really, I mean, it's really grown over the last 5 to 7 years. And not that people weren't, but there seemed to be this idea that brands could be a little bit disconnected because of the retail supply chain, the distribution of products through retail. And then you had this explosion of e-commerce that started with, globally, not just with Amazon, but then also COVID, I think, really brought a lot of brands into having to know a little bit more about their consumers. Have you all seen a bigger uptick in brands coming to you and saying, we don't really know how to do this, but we know that we need to have access to the data. We need to know what our customers are really doing, our actual customers. We need to know what they're really doing, and we don't really know how to do it. Or are they coming to you with, we have a really good idea of how this is going to be accomplished. We know that we need to have, NFC tags on all of our retail displays or whatever it is. Or is it kind of a mixed bag of how they're coming to you all?
I'll jump in here for that from the sourcing piece, if you don't mind, Jen. Or I'm sorry, Paul.
It always comes back to sourcing, doesn't it, Devin?
It always comes back to sourcing, so I want to jump into it. But what I wanted to say is that we get approached by this a lot at the sourcing stage, which really is too late in the model. Because all we're doing at this point is just sourcing the components. We're sourcing the pieces, making sure it can actually get out. But you really want to start piping this in from the concept point of view. You want to start bringing in people like Paul and people like Jan and their teams to help you ideate what you're trying to do with the package, what you have in mind, and how you can make that succeed. So, Paul, sorry to overtalk you earlier there. I'll hand it back over to you to add some color to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important, is to make sure that customer experience is the same across all channels. So I think in the past, brands haven't been aware of that, and therefore they might actually have multiple experiences across different channels. So I think if you start from the entry point, you're going to get a much better consumer experience. So we are seeing customers, mainly trying to capture first party data to understand their consumers and to be able to engage with them. But what they are finding is that you've got to bring that consumer back to you, even if they buy the initial product and connect. So you've got to create an environment which actually gives them more information. So, for example, we were all been discussing in TAG about how we could, perhaps through that connected packaging interface, provide instructions on how to recycle the product after use. Very simple, adds to our CPG's company's sustainability criteria, but it actually then really shows people how they can recycle that packaging.
Well, Paul, you have provided a perfect segue to Emily and what you're all doing with sustainability there, because I know I like this idea that you shared about transparency and sustainability, which obviously is connected back to the connection of the packaging, to the product and what the heck we're supposed to do, because consumers are really unclear as to what they're supposed to do with their packaging. So what are some things that y'all are doing, Emily, in terms of sustainability and helping brands to communicate what the transparency is in the sustainability?
Such a hot topic and so much to go into. So with sustainability, so long we had this accepted state where the responsibility of what happens with a package after it's left the brand or after it's left the real retailer was really on the consumer, right? It's the consumer's responsibility to dispose of that package. And for a long time, it was just, okay, that goes into the garbage. Maybe that's incineration, maybe that's landfill. And then we've started this whole narrative around recyclability, and it's really complex. And I think when we talk about this layer of COVID, it really caused a lot of stress on recycling systems globally, right? We saw a huge decrease around recycling. So I think brands are responding to that, and that it's with the rise of extended producer responsibility schemes, or EPR, it's no longer up to just the consumers of what happens to that package. It's actually the responsibility of the company who make that package and put it on a shelf. So how can TAG support all of those brands? And many of these brands we've seen make commitments to having either they're moving big move away from single use, right? So maybe it's recyclable, maybe it's reusable, maybe it's compostable, maybe it's a mix of all of the above. But many of these brands are making these commitments often by 2025. And so it's up to companies like TAG to say, okay, this is what we can do. This is how we can help you in this journey. We're going to take something that maybe wasn't compostable and make it compostable. Wasn't recyclable, make it recyclable, but we still have to meet all of the requirements around that packaging, right? It still has to perform. It still has to be as eye-catching as it always was. There's so many different attributes, and the connected package is just adding a lot more information on what happens to that package in its journey. And so Paul started talking about some end-of-life options, right? So where does it go? How are we tracking that? How much of it is being recycled? These are all pieces of information that brands and consumers are looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Is the convergence then of sustainability and EPR, and as we've been talking to, I've been thinking about this. We have a lot of acronyms in the packaging industry. We've talked about CPG, FMCG, EPR. I'm sure SME, COE,
yeah.
We haven't even talked RFID, NFC. Man, we love these things. I should put like a glossary together at the end of this podcast just to show everybody what everything is. But this convergence of connected packaging and sustainability, I find to be fascinating. So, for example, if you put an RFID tag integrated into a label, and then put that label onto a container, how that could really benefit the connectedness of the packaging. And also, I'm not sure what the impact of it is on the recyclability of it. So I don't know if Jan or Emily would want to take this. How are brands navigating both of these worlds simultaneously? And how do you help them unearth or understand this?
So there's a lot of attention being put on materials, and I think that when we look at materials, so RFID tags many benefits, right? However, some of those benefits turn into challenges when we talk about end of life and recyclability, just with the RFID tags. And so with RFID, it's like, okay, can you make it reusable? Yes, that is an option, but then there's going to be often a price increase for that. Mm-hmm. Okay, can you make it out of a material that is maybe be compostable or recyclable? Yes, but then it has to be sorted appropriately, so it just doesn't all go into some magic place. All of this stuff takes a lot of sorting, an immense amount of planning, even further amounts of connection throughout the value chain to provide end markets for this material to make sure that it is actually recycled. Even if it is recyclable, is it then recycled? Is it a desirable material? So it's a very complicated landscape. And I think that brands are trying to do as much as they can in hoping that, baby steps are going to get us there in some ways, that we know we have to do a lot, but we can't go from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Jan, I don't want to add to that.
Yeah. So certainly there is, as far as the connected pack, we firmly believe the pack sits at the center of everything that a marketer does. It stares at you open up your medicine cabinet and there it is staring at you. You open up your refrigerator and there it is looking at you. Your cupboards, everywhere you look, your packaging is staring back at you, right? Now with the connected pack, not only it could tell you, hey, I'm getting ready to expire, right? I'm almost empty. You should, go out and buy a new one of me because it's flu season and I think that you're going to need this. I know you want to recycle me, but here's what you do. Put the cap in this bin, put the carton in this bin, and put the container in this bin so it could tell you how to recycle it. And that is being worked on right now. It'll also work with you if you are visually impaired. It could read all the copy that's on pack to you and make sure you're getting your nutrition facts, make sure that you're using the product properly. You could be completely visually impaired. You could be geriatric. You could be, not speak English or read English perfectly. But with the advent of the connected pack, we are breaking down those barriers.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I think about even the e-commerce element where people can now, you can see how something's going to look in your house from online. So you can there's so much that we're already doing. And then think about the advent of smart glasses, where if now your packaging is integrated and connected to, I think it was like Google Glasses or something like that, but where you're walking down the shelf and maybe it has, to your point on medicine, maybe your medical history is in there. And when you're looking at something, it's like, you can't do this, this will be good, or whatever it might be. I think there's so many benefits to it. And that's a great point, Jan, about how your packaging is sort of the thing that's always communicating to your customer. And so why not have it do more from a usefulness standpoint? And also what do I do with this at the end? Because what do I do with this has to be connected to the material, the MRFs, of material recovery facilities in the area where you are. It's not just, okay, like I've used this example before on the podcast, but I live in Salt Lake City. We do not have municipal recycling of glass here. Other places do have municipal recycling of glass. And so being able to scan something like that, if I'm traveling here to go ski or snowboard and I need to know, what do I do with this, to be able to scan it and it says, you can take this to this location over here or dispose of in the trash, is necessary, because sometimes stuff does need to go to a landfill because people just dump it in and wish cycle it away. And that doesn't help anybody, because now we got to sort it and it could contaminate the recycling, and it's a whole thing. So
I think there's something like over 40,000 different municipal recycling setups in the United States. Somewhere around 43,000 different systems. And there is a lot of work being done on this, of getting exactly what you say, going by location. On this side of the street, it's recyclable. On this other side of the street, it's not recyclable. And how do you put that in the hands of consumers? I think we will see that, but it's really hard. It's really hard to make that happen and to make it work everywhere for every single package.
And there are people working on it, for sure. And so I'm actually really optimistic, I'm naturally an optimistic person. Maybe because I haven't spent a whole lot of time in New York City. It seems like there's you live in these big cities and everyone's like pessimistic. And I'm just like, I don't know. I grew up in Colorado and I live in Utah. I guess everyone's happy all the time. But I'm naturally optimistic about the future. And it's by and large because I get to meet people like you all who are out there working and doing things that are impacting the future of packaging. So I'm not sure who wants to take this, but what are you all excited about? Or maybe we could kind of go like through each one of you. What are you excited about the possibilities of the future of either connected packaging or sustainable packaging? What gets you pumped up to go to work in the morning?
Let me start off, and then I'm going to turn this over to Paul, because I think he could touch upon a case study. He might have to white label it. So at TAG, we believe the basics, being right first time, having great quality, great service, bringing out clients, new innovative ideas, making sure that they're fastest to market. I mean, that's point of entry, right? But at TAG, we are fortunate enough to have Devin and his team members, right, who can source at the right pricing, at the right location, and warehouse it and get it delivered. Emily will keep us up to date on everything that's happening around sustainability, such as the Holy Grail, which I've been involved in, and I've actually gone to a MRF and I've watched toothpaste go down a conveyor belt and get separated into the right bins, and then turning it over to Paul, let him discuss what he's been working on with a major company around the connected pack, I think would be really interesting. So you could see how we're looking at everything that has to do with packaging at TAG, and we have those capabilities. So we're really fortunate.
I love it.
Yeah. So what we've been doing with a global CPG company is really looking at how they can engage with their clients and get that repetitive first-party data back, so that they can understand their clients more and therefore position their products much better. And what we've actually created is an ability to have a single QR code on the top of the product that you scan in, and that effectively takes you to a virtual world that we have created for this brand. And within that virtual world, because the product appeals to both adults and children, there will be gamification. There'll be the opportunity to engage with some of the characters. There's an opportunity to deliver content about the product and the contents, and also there's other ways of engaging them into other brands within the portfolio as well, so that they can see that. But it all starts from a virtual world. And one of the things that they used to justify taking this to market was that they could reduce their printing costs on the packaging over an annual basis. That was the only business case that the customer would accept, or the board would accept, as a justification for going ahead. But what it now means is that virtual world can be very seasonalized. So right now it's obviously it'll be a very Christmassy feel. And then as we moved into spring and Easter and those types of period, it can change. But it's a very immersive world that people can move around in, and the more times they visit, the more access they get.
I love it. And I think all of this does tie into this idea of economics, where I think it's disingenuous for us to not acknowledge the fact that innovation, whether it's sustainability innovation, connected packaging innovation, you talk about this virtual world, all of it does have to have an economic component. And Jan, you did a great job of kind of outlining where everyone, where someone like Devin's team is going to come in and say, like, we're going to help make an economic justification for this based on data. And I think for a while, at least when I was in sourcing, it was sort of like, well, yeah, if you want to be sustainable, if you want to be innovative, it's just going to cost you more. So being able to take a look at this holistically is a huge benefit that I think that TAG has, to be able to bring to a brand and say, here's this connected packaging idea, and we think it has an economic viability because we can drive sourcing costs down actually over the long term. So see, Devin, I brought it all the way back to sourcing.
Yeah, you brought it to sourcing. It's just to supply chain, right? It's all there.
Yeah.
I think too that you asked me what gets me excited about the future of packaging. It's really where TAG is going these days. Since the last time you and I spoke, we've made some drastic improvements into our business and some changes in our business that have made a huge difference. One, we brought Emily on board to help lead us through sustainability and kind of navigate our ways through that, make sure we are not greenwashing, making sure we're not taking a misstep or misdirecting a client into the wrong direction. We brought Jan over to help us pull in together the magic of the strategy, the entire vision and the scope of the packaging. And then we've recently been acquired by Dentsu, so now we're part of that Dentsu brand, which now Paul brings into the magic of what he brings through Merkle. So where we are right now is the part about packaging that gets me most excited is what TAG is bringing to the market around packaging.
I love it. That's great. Well, we are coming up here on the end of our time. I thought 25 minutes would go fast. 30 minutes went by even faster. So
can I round us out, Adam?
I was actually going to kick it over to you, Emily.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say my favorite thing about like what gets me excited about this is actually the number of global brands that we touch. So TAG works, I don't think I can name them here, but TAG works with so many different global brands, and we have a direct line in to say the sustainability teams. And so if you're sitting within a brand, you're like, okay, I've got this problem. I'm a sustainability person. My company's tasked me to go fix this. Often it can feel hard because you're starting at zero. The ability that Tag has is to say, well, we worked with this brand, that brand, this brand. We've already hammered out a solution. We have the vendors. We already have basically everything set up and ready to go to be able to help this brand address one of their problems. So these companies don't have to start at zero. And so I can go to someone maybe in, say, pharma and say, hey, we've done this for CPGs and this has been what's worked and this is working really well. So you're able to leverage this work, mostly around sustainability for me. But I think it's really great because we often get brands coming to us and they're saying, well, Tag, you're working with all these different brands. So what are you, like, you tell us, what are you seeing? What are some other companies out there doing and where are they being successful? And we're able to share case studies and say like, yep. And Tag is your one-stop shop for that. And so that's my favorite part about that, is that we are not starting from scratch every single time, is that we've already worked out a lot of the problems. And so we are able to go further and go faster because some of this sustainability stuff, like there is no time to waste, right? We need to get busy.
And recycling is the one area I see where companies do not mind sharing intellectual property on what they're doing in order to be able to, be as green as they possibly can be. The more volume that they're able to put together that could be recycled, they're happy about that. They'll talk about that. They'll share that information, which is great, right? We're all trying to save the planet. So
it's so true. I mean, I was at the Sustainable Packaging Coalition event in Boston recently, and there's brands from every, competitor brands who are coming together, but there's a friendliness there of sharing of the data, because yes, maybe you could get a little bit of a marketing edge for a short bit of time, but I think brands are really feeling that pressure from consumers, honestly, that it's like, this isn't just a thing to market your product. We actually, going back to the greenwashing thing, we actually want you to be about this. And in order to be about that, I think it does create that connectedness and that collaboration, not only between brands, but also between, partners and vendors and suppliers. Emily, as you were talking, I had this vision. So I'm a big believer in this thing called gap selling, or just kind of like gap theory, which is like your current state and your future state, however big that is, that's your gap. And what I think it's cool that Tag does, you said, you don't have to start from scratch. So if your current state is here and you want to get here, a company like Tag really allows this brand to get to the future state significantly faster, because you've already had to do the hard work of filling that gap in. So yes, I'm sure they could go do it themselves. The amount of time and talent and energy it's going to take to close that gap for these brands, I think they're not willing to pay. And why would you want to do that if the solution's already been done and you've already figured that out? So you guys provide this awesome opportunity to close that gap very quickly and get them doing the thing that they want to do, which is, provide medicine, provide products, do the stuff that they already set out to do, and you can help them do that in the way that they want to have it achieved. So I think it's great.
Really good.
What would be the best way for people to get in touch with either you individually or Tag in general? If someone had questions about connected packaging or Manchester United, the history of Manchester United football, I'm guessing they wouldn't talk to Devin. They'd probably reach out to Paul. So what are some ways for people to get in touch with y'all?
Just let them come to jan.stollerman at tagww.com. And I will make sure that we respond in full force with, the power of Tag. So again,
sounds like a t-shirt needs to be made.
Our website is tagww.com. You can get us that way, or you could email me directly at, again, jan.stollerman, tagww.com.
Okay.
Good old-fashioned LinkedIn is also an option.
Yep.
Okay. It's good if I put your LinkedIn profiles down in the show notes. They could, I'm sure if someone was like, I need to get in touch with Emily Stolarcyk, it might be like, I don't know. So I'll just make it easy. You can just click. Just click down there.
Perfect.
Just don't call Devin at home. He does not want any people. He doesn't want his home phone number out there.
I'll put it out there. Never
again. Never again.
Awesome. Well, Paul, Emily, Jan, and Devin, I really appreciate y'all coming on, talking about just this really hot topic, right? Both hot topics, really, connected packaging and sustainability, and what you're all doing at TAG. Everyone go to tagww.com, check out what is going on there, and make sure that you put Jan on all of the spam email lists so that he gets cat fancy and every.
Thank you very much.
You're so, but reach out to Jan in all seriousness. Reach out to Jan if you got any questions. I appreciate y'all coming on. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Adam.